our stations. Those of us are paid, we're paid for 24 hours. So 24 hours on, and then we have 48 hours off. So we go into work at 8 a.m. and then we get off at 8 a.m. the next day. We have about 31 stations in our county, and the stations consist of either 5 to 10 personnel, depending on the station. We usually have an engine, a brush truck, a rescue. So we are a transport county, so we actually transport patients. So we have a rescue. You may have 2 rescues at your station. Some stations also have tankers. And then our hierarchy is we have a chief, assistant chief, we have division chiefs, we have lieutenants, captains, firefighter, paramedics. So that's kind of how that works. We have about 300,000 citizens in the county, and we run about 220 calls a day. Let me see. We have about, I guess it'd be for you guys, it'd be like 1,600 hectares. No, it'd be 414 hectares and 1,600 square miles. I know our miles to hectares is a little bit different. So that's about the space. So easier to say from station to station, from one station to the furthest station is about an hour and 15-minute drive in our county. That's kind of a little bit about Marion County. What I was going to do today as far as a topic, it's really super simple. Those of you that are listening that are experienced firefighters, it's kind of an easy one. I was just going to do kind of the tools of the trade of what we keep in our pockets. If you have any new volunteers, any new people, then it's a really good one for them, because so when you start out, your pockets are essentially empty. You don't carry anything in. We call it bunker gear. I think you guys call it the same. Your bunker gear, you don't really have anything. You show up on the job, you have your yellow helmet, you have your gear, and your pockets are essentially empty. And then you get about 5 years onto it, and you weigh about 60 kilograms with gear, with all your things that you have, because you load your pockets down with everything you may possibly need. And about 2 years after that, you go back through your gear again, and you kind of lighten the load. So it's a little bit different for every unit and every person, because so, for example, if you're on a brush truck and you're going to the wildland brush fire calls, you may carry like an extra Nomex, and you may even pocket some water, because that's the tools that you're going to need most. If you are on a rescue company, you may want to have an extra pair of trauma shears in your pockets, as far as like having something extra. For us, our rescues are also our search teams. So if you're going to go in and search, like if there's a structure fire, one of the things that we do, one company pulls a line to put water to extinguish the fire, and not the first rescue, or I guess you guys would call it maybe an ambulance company, we call it rescues. That first company, because they're dual cert firefighters, so that means that they are paramedics, but they are also firefighters. They would do the search of the home looking for victims. So for them, it would be very important to keep like extra rope and rigging in case they found somebody in order to pull them out. So what you carry in your gear may be a little bit dependent as far as like what your unit is. The other thing that might be a little bit different is the area that you live in. Obviously, if you're rural, if you live in the city, if you live in the country, what you may keep on your gear is different. The only other thing that might also change is your position. So I know like my driver and a lot of the drivers at our station, they carry a little bit of like a bigger tackle box in the back side of their driver engineer's compartment, and they have some tools that they can get to, but they don't have to have it on their body, because they can walk back to the truck and grab it and bring it to us. So they might have a tool like to take off a battery, for example. So I have my gear kind of laid out in front of me. I'll kind of do a pass over, and I'll go over the type of gear that I personally carry. So I'm just going to flip this around if I can. Maybe. All right. So, and unfortunately, I'm not at my station today. I was on shift the other day when I talked to Sarah, but I am at home. I was actually camping last night, so I left my camping at 4 to come back to the house. So it's always good. Your money's different than our money, but it's always good to carry a little bit of cash. The guys love you when you're like starving and hungry and thirsty, and you've been up on a structure fire all night, and you have, $5 or $10 to get some drinks or to get something to eat. So a little bit of money stashed someplace is good. We carry a set of cutters. We will carry this for entanglement. So if you're in a structure fire and you have the coaxial cable like come down, or a lot of times it comes down, it's by your feet, or if you get wrapped up any, generally speaking, we'll carry that up in the pocket of our jacket. So that way you can grab it and reach it even when you have your gear on. Some people will carry one in their jacket and one in their pants. So that way they're able to get to it. I always also carry, this is just a piece of webbing. I have a carabiner on it too, and that would be for multi-purposes. If you are doing extrication and you are opening up a door, you can use that to pull the door away as you're cutting it. You can use it to put it on either a victim or a firefighter that's gone down in order to pull them out. So usually we'll carry, that's just like 8mm webbing, and it's just in one loop like that. I usually carry rope with me. People carry between like 20 to 30 feet of rope. So this is more pertinent to, so if you're, I mean, you could carry rope in case you needed to, we've used it before when we had to, like, we have a log or something that's in the way. You can wrap it, put it on your grass truck and pull the log away with some of our utility rope. We usually use this one in case you have to do a bailout. So for example, around my station, if you have some apartments and you have an apartment that's 2 or 3 stories, you could utilize that if you needed to get out. I usually keep that in my right pocket. There's a set of just it's a multi-tool, and it has all the little side pieces in it. So you can use that. Our batteries, so for us for extrication, if you have a vehicle accident and there is minor damage, you want to just take the battery off, just loosen it, so that way the people could still run their vehicle afterwards. If it's a significant accident, then we would use the cutters and actually cut the batteries, which I'm sure you guys do something similar. More rope. So I'm going to turn this around if I can. So I told you a little bit about Marion County. I didn't tell you about myself. Sorry about that. So I'm a lieutenant for Marion County. I've been a lieutenant for about 5 years. Before that, I was a driver engineer. Before that, I was a paramedic on a rescue. That's kind of our step system. You start out on a rescue. You go to we call it a rookie. You're backwards on an engine. You can go from the engine to becoming a driver engineer, and from there, lieutenant, and from there, captain, and so forth. The lieutenant captain position is the last position where you get to stay with your crew. I love being with a crew. My crew is 4 other people, is who I work with. I have been on the technical rescue team and on our honor guard in the past. So I carry a little bit more extra rope than some people, but it's just because of probably from being on that tech team. So the other thing that we keep, a utility knife, a regular knife. Obviously has many different applications. Keeping a knife on you, you can use it to cut seat belts. When I'm done, I'll send a little kind of link. There's some multi-tools that have, like, there's one that for drivers that's good. It's a spanner wrench, like what you use to open your hoses and couplings. And a lot of those have a hole punch on them and a seatbelt cutter. This, I don't know if anybody has this particular one, but it's a door chock. So you put this in the door and it keeps the door open. So it's for a rescue application. If you're doing a search and you need to keep a door open behind you, that's what that one is there. And I have you can also use a wedge. Wedge we usually keep like in our helmets up on top. This is like I don't carry this. This is one of my drivers. So they just carry like a little pouch. But what you'd keep in that is you could keep a screwdriver that has the 2 different heads. You can carry just a small socket wrench. We talked about if you're on a rescue vehicle, I don't know if you guys do like first responder or EMT or paramedic, just a pair of extra shears. On my actual gear itself, we keep an extra flashlight. Ooh, that's bright for everybody. So keep an extra flashlight, set of gloves. That's kind of the basics of some of the gear. Okay, back again. So that's some of the basic stuff that we carry in our pocket. It's good to know kind of where you have it. It's good to take your tools out every once in a while. You'll forget what you stuff in there. If you're on a rescue unit, you might have like 6 pairs of gloves. Now we have all our face shields because of COVID. You may have like an old candy bar. Who knows what you end up putting in your pockets. So it's good to kind of take it out every once in a while. You can reevaluate what you use and what you don't use, kind of like on a daily or weekly basis. Some tools, again, you can, like if you're a driver, it's nice because you can kind of keep them separate. So you have them, even the ones you don't use daily. You don't want to get too weighed down. A lot of people like keeping the stuff they use all the time, like on their right side, like their dominant side where you would be able to access it easily. I keep I do a ladder belt. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So I wear a ladder belt and I have a couple carabiners. And usually I have a set of like utility gloves, like for extrication. So that's kind of the basics of as far as the gear. Brent Murray is one of the other lieutenants that I work with. Was talking about this the other day with him, and I asked him what he likes carrying, and he said, are you guys familiar with a sawzall? Okay.
I'm not.
All right. So a sawzall or saw-all, a lot of times you'll carry it on a truck for extrication. It's either battery or electrical powered, and it has a thin, long blade. And when you plug it in or you battery, it could cut through like the A, B, or C post of a vehicle, or on the ground, like if you want to cut out the vehicle's seat. It's just a long, thin blade. I'll send a picture later. And what you could do with that is you can actually keep that blade in your pocket. It's only about 6 to 10 inches, but you can use it to cut a seat belt. You can get it, we call it, trying to think of what you guys would call it. So when we extricate on a vehicle, we cut the seat belt and we take away the plastics. So in between the metal frame of the vehicle.
We call them armaments.
Yes, so we take away the armament, like the plastic pieces.
Plastic, so we can review the armaments, yeah.
Right, so with that sawzall, you can get it's really thin, so you can get in between the metal and the plastic, and it helps tear it away. So that's just a really thin blade, but it's used, and then you actually have an extra blade too. So if you're using it and you need one, you can have it on there. So that's a nice. It's like it's very lightweight, but you can do multiple things with it. So that's something that you could do. We
potentially call it the recip saw or the saber saw.
Okay.
So reciprocating saw.
Yeah, that's what it's a type of reciprocating saw. Yeah. So you can use that blade. That's something you kind of have in your pocket. Let me see. We have a Lion gear. So that's the type of gear that we have. If you guys can see that. We have extricators, so that way after fires we can clean our gear. We unfortunately don't have it at every station, so it doesn't get cleaned after every fire. They are starting to do a hood exchange. So if we have a structure fire, our hoods, we can actually change those out. So so this being our hood, usually that's something else that you could kind of keep. I usually keep that in my mask bag. So my mask bag's over here. So that's my helmet and my mask bag. Unfortunately, you can see all the COVID stuff we have now. But I keep a set of extra face shields in there. And then we have these buffs. So we're supposed to wear those on like any kind of medical call where we can't have like closer than 6 feet with people. Our county issued that to us. And I think that's kind of the majority. Like I said, I wasn't sure exactly what you wanted as far as for a topic. So I figured that'd be kind of short and sweet. You guys can kind of tell me some things you like keeping in your pockets. And if you have any questions about the county or anything that we have going on here, I'll gladly answer anything you guys have.
I carry this, which is a stuff.
Oh, nice.
It useful for all hydrants, and you can use it for wedges indoors, etc. as well. So it's a really handy little tool to carry. And I'll give the members an idea that we've actually been donated some to give away, guys. So watch out for some competitions on board the page, because
nice.
I find it's really handy. We have bigger versions of this in our brigades as well. So, but really, I was just looking at your 20 to 30 feet of rope. That's 6 to 9 meters. That's a fair bit of rope. I don't know. I know I carry about probably 6 foot. but that's about all I carry. So
That's like 2 lengths of hoses.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, it's pretty. It's not. It doesn't take up very much room though. That's the length there, and usually you put like an 8 at the end, and it just gives you. You can kind of double it up. Our normal length is we usually keep about a 2-foot piece of. This is about the length of with a carabine on it, and then the webbing. We do a webbing, and the webbing, this is probably my favorite, this one here, and it's probably about 6 feet, and we use that for like grabbing somebody. I'm not a really big person, but like for when we do rescues, like when I use a rope, if I can throw a rope around a firefighter, or like if we're practicing with victims, it's easy for me when I have the leverage of a rope. So the rope makes a big difference. So the rope is probably one of my, not the long rope, but the 6-foot rope is probably one of my favorite tools.
And you put that under, like, would I put that under their arms?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Questions, guys? I know I carry, I've got a multi-tool in mine. I often carry some lollies or something like that. And tonight the guys at the call came up and said, do you have candy? Do you have anything for me? I need some sugar. And I actually did. Did I see you had a body cam on there as well?
I don't. We did. That was just my light. We don't. All of our officers, our police officers, they all they have a body cam, and they have their body cam all the time. We work both with the city police department and with the county police department, and they do have body cameras. We don't. The city has cameras in their trucks, so it records like if they stop too quickly, if they're going too fast. We have what we call MDT, so it tracks us, but no video, at least not yet. So
we have on our trucks, our brigade has put dash cams. So we do have dash cams, and we are tracked through our radios of where we are too. Yeah.
Again, it keeps people a little bit honest.
Exactly right. And it's really, I found it really was useful. Because we can look up a map and see where vehicles are. And when you get called out to a fire in a specific locale rather than an actual address, if you look up the map, you can see exactly where that fire is by where the truck is.
Right.
Especially good for wildfires. So, you know, in the vicinity, a fire in the vicinity of this area, and then, well, you don't know exactly where they are, but look at the map, you can see where the truck is.
And you can see where they are.
Really useful.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Go. Go ahead, you're good.
I was just going to say, come on, guys, surely you've got some questions.
What sort of response codes do you have? So here in Victoria, we obviously have code 1 and code 3. Code 1's lights and sirens, and code 3 is just normal road rules. So what would you guys have in the US?
Okay, so we have urgent and non-urgent. We have our dispatch. I actually worked in dispatch for a little while. Our dispatch, they have a class that you have to take, and they do things like on cards, and they actually do a Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta on the rescue side of things. And then our response would be, it's an emergent response or a non-emergent response. So we'll go like IFA, so for like a fire, which is just immediate fire, you could do like immediate fire response or emergent or a non-emergent call. So that they'll tell us when we're responding as far as we're going to go emergency or not. And our fire and EMS dispatch is together, so they kind of have us respond to both.
Interesting. When you mentioned rescue the other day, my version of rescue and most our versions of rescue is what we get called to if there's a car accident and someone's trapped.
Okay, gotcha.
Or high angle rescue, or down at side of slope or something like that. That's what we call rescue. They're rescue technicians that can, they're trained in extrication from vehicles or steep angle or low angle rescue. So
so we call our like. So it could be they would usually say like it would be dispatches like a entrapment, or MVA would be a motor vehicle accident. With extrication would be if we're actually using the tools to cut. We might get like on the medical side, they might say general medical or a difficulty breathing or that type of thing. And how our units respond is if it's urgent or emergency, a rescue / ambulance responds with an engine company. So they get, it's a dual response.
So if you have extrication required, are all your engines equipped to be able to do extrication?
Yes, we have it's called TNT. So the brand or company is the TNT equipment. And we have in the back of our engine, we have a TNT pump, we have a cutter, a spreader, and a ram.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we have designated brigades, or it might be fire, or we have what we call the state emergency service, who might be rescue as well. So, and we only have one every so often that are trained to do extrication and have those equipment on their vehicles. And they may either have hydraulic pumps with the equipment, or they'll have they're starting to go battery operated gear now too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very useful to use the battery operated gear because you don't have the things in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, they have Homatro has they have some battery operated that's very good. It's really lightweight.
That's
so
what we've been using.
Nice,
the Helmatro. We use Helmatro or Lucas.
Yeah, they're both good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the TNT and we had Amicus before that. So we do have two, they call them heavies or heavy rescues, and they have specialized equipment. Like they have a cord reel that's 100 feet. And then they have kind of like double the tools. They have what we call Rescue 42s. Rescue 42s are like these big props. So like a vehicle that's on its side, it stabilizes the vehicle on its side. So they have some specialized equipment on their trucks. They have like double the saws. They have reciprocating saws. They have extra tools.
Yeah, so all our rescue trucks are equipped to do that. And our normal pumpers, engines. Some in Melbourne are with permanent staff, but most volunteers, some volunteers may have a set of spreaders on their vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have our pumpers have our engines. So like my engine has 750 gallons. I don't know do you guys go by gallons or no?
No, liters.
Liters. So we
That's
have.
Okay. Say gallons and I can translate it.
So ours have 750 gallons, and then we have tankers that will meet us on the calls as well.
So 750 gallons is 2,800 liters.
Yep. So that's
you're on into it before me. Any other questions, guys?
So how's the career staff working with the volunteers? And I would imagine it depends on the risk profile where you put your career stations versus your volunteer stations. How does that all work?
So for volunteers, obviously the states years and years ago, that's all it was volunteer companies. The ones that are up north, like New York City, Boston, up north of the United States, some of those stations are amazing. They have like really, really nice equipment. The staffing is very good, volunteer wise. The training is good. I would say in all, and you may see it over there, other than the rural places, they've gone somewhat away from the volunteers because it's not as easy. Like now, before you could say, okay, we got a call out or my pager went off, and you could just leave and go on the call. And now a lot of employers don't let people just leave or, show up hours later. And they needed the consistency of having, the people there paid. So even in Florida, there's still a lot of just volunteer counties and communities. And then there's not. So for us here, the city had been paid for about 220 years. They were paid. The county my county only went paid about 45 or 50 years ago. So we haven't. So when I started, I was about number like 40 and now we're up to 500 as far as paid. Our county still has volunteers. So like if you wanted to volunteer, you could volunteer at my station. So we'll still take volunteers at the station, and then they would, they come when they want to, and they would respond to calls. The county still has, I want to say 1, 2, 3, they still have 3 like outlying stations that are just volunteers. So if that station gets called, only if the person's available will you have somebody respond. And I started as a volunteer. I volunteered for 8 years before I went paid. So I like volunteers. I don't have any problems with a volunteer. I just got more training because I worked on a rescue, as a paramedic. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this fire side. It's fun. And I guess I might as well get paid to do it because I like it that much. But we've always gotten along well with our volunteer companies. And like I said, up north, there's still some places they don't have any paid. It is only volunteers. So if you want any help, then you better like your volunteers because that's what you're going to get. The training, now they have made, at least for Florida, the training is harder. In order to be a firefighter that can go into a structure fire, they have minimum training that you have to do. So you couldn't just sign up as a volunteer and then get into a pumper and go into a fire and fight fire. It's not in-house training. You actually have to go to a fire college and do, we call it Fire 1 and Fire 2 to make a minimum requirement. And they've just done that for safety. So that way they don't have people get injured. I don't know if that helps a little bit. I think now for fire training, I think it's almost all the way up to 15 or 16 weeks of training. At one time it was 40 hours. I want to say to be interior, you have to be a firefighter 1, which is about halfway through the program. So I'd say probably 3 months to 2 to 3 months of training to be interior. Now you can be a volunteer and you can do exterior. So you'd be able to help with the water shuttle, help with all the outside aspects of the fires, brush fires, but not interior structure firefighting, unless you have the training. But we get along. We don't have any problems with. I like it when the volunteers show up because that usually means that they're bringing water, they're coming with the tanker, and we need it. So that's good. Some of the volunteers, will bring some, first aid, water, food for the guys too. So we get along with them well. Do they often turn up direct? Do you have people turning up direct to jobs in their own private vehicles, or do they? So no, not anymore. So when I started, and that's a good question. So we used to have that in the States, and here they went away a little bit from the red lights, because if you look overall at firefighter deaths or injuries, one of the big ones was people responding to calls and personal vehicles. Because you still have a lot of firefighters up north. When you look at if you pull up the United States firefighter fatalities, that's one of the high ones. The big 3 are cardiovascular, so us not taking care of ourselves physically, and the secondary one being motor vehicle accident. So they've kind of, at least here in Marion County, they really don't have, you don't really put the red light on your car and respond to the scene. They will page them out. You'll drive your vehicle and pick up a fire vehicle and then go to the call. Or so when I volunteered locally, we used to just go up and go to the station, and you'd stay at the station for the day. But we had pagers too, so you could get paged out and go to the firehouse to pick up the equipment. But usually we would just go up and, spend the day or a couple of hours at the station. And if you got called out, you were already there.
Yeah, most of us, I don't actually have mine on us. We have pages, and unless it's a warm day or a high fire day today, there you go, Callum's showing his pager. A high fire day, we don't often, most of us will be at home locations and respond to the fire station and respond out from there.
But I know rurally too, a lot of the people end up kind of on bush brigades, that you end up you normally have a normal job, but when you have a big wildfire, then a lot of the kind of residents end up helping.
Yeah. We have lots for our we are responsible for bushfire on private property, but when it comes to public land, state parks, national parks, things like that, we've got Forest Fire Management Victoria, which is equivalent to your forestry department.
Right, forest, yeah.
And we support them on that land. And I actually had some guys from Florida out helping me this year.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it was, we had both incident management teams and crews on the ground.
Yeah.
So, anyone else got any questions?
How do you guys handle brush fires or bushfires in the States?
Well, they're all different. So we had probably 10 years ago, they had some pretty bad one. Well, not bad compared to what you guys have, but bad ones for Florida. And I know like California has some pretty nasty ones. California's biggest problem is they have the shake shingle roofs. So the roofs that have like the wood on top. And then people don't clear around their homes. So that's why their houses end up catching on fire. And of course the embers, when you have the sparks, they could go kilometers away from the original fire. Here we either do a single dispatch where we have 2 engines and 2 brush trucks responding to the brush fire initially, and then they do what they call dual dispatch. So we have a freeze or a frost where everything's pretty dry or it's very dry out. They do dual dispatches. They send extra units straight away. So they would send like 4 brush trucks straight away and 2 tankers and 3 engines and like a safety or a captain, division chief to the call. And our brush trucks, it'll be gallons again, but they carry about 350 to 400 gallons of water is what our brush trucks carry. And then we have like a booster or a pump, like a pump reel on the back. And we usually fight fire off of that. We also carry foam, both on the engine pumpers and on the grass trucks. So that would be kind of our response. Now, if it's close to forest, because we work with our forestry too, forestry will respond, and they usually respond with a bulldozer. So they'll cut a line. So they'll cut a line around the fire to kind of mitigate it. And that's kind of the normal response. And like, so our station, we would respond, and we do respond to brush fire. So it would be our engine and then our brush truck. And how they do it at my station is the 2 guys that are on the rescue / ambulance. That gets shut down and they jump on the grass truck. If they're out on a medical call, then we just take 1 person or 2 people from the engine, and they take the brush truck, and then the engine responds with the driver.
Are you always on the same crews? Like, are you always teamed up together, or are you changing? Do you quite often change different?
No, so we mostly stay with the same crews. They're just doing a reorganization, so it might have a little bit of movement, but generally speaking, you have the same. We have 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift. And generally speaking, you have a driver, lieutenant, a tailboard, which is like your rookie riding what we call backwards position. And then you have 2 people on the rescue squad or ambulance.
One call. How many females?
We have we have a HP. It's called a HP or a rescue, just like a ambulance division. We have more females on that side. On the fire side, we actually just hired. We hadn't hired any for a really long time. There was only about 3 of us, but they just hired. They hired 1, and then there's 1 in the process of getting hired. So there's about 6 of us. We haven't. I guess you guys have probably heard, like with all the riots and stuff. Luckily, here in Ocala, Marion County, we don't see it. We have African Americans, we have a Hispanic, we have all kinds of different population, but we really there wasn't any big riots here. We pretty much get along. We don't. I guess that's more like in the cities where you have that. We don't really have that same problem. As far as integration, we have some African Americans that work for our department, probably like 15 or 20. And we have Hispanics probably about 20, 25. So the ratio is obviously less with females and with, races of color. But they don't, with hiring, it's just open. I know, like, so I like it. Like when I tested for lieutenant, I was a number. only. So like our physical, it was just a number, like number 2, and you do the physical and you get points on the physical and on your time station. And then that's how and then like the written, again, I was like the number, and you do your written and whatever you get, you get a 90 on it. Then, so the only time they actually really knew it was me and I was a girl was when we did our interview. And then obviously you're sitting, and that was the last step of the process of it was like a 4-step process. And so for me, I like it that way. I don't think anybody should be given anything because of race or color or age. I like it when they it's hard sometimes not to, but I don't know, you have a little bit of both here. In South Florida, Miami, you have a higher you get more, they do, I think, incentives to make things more like racially equal. But like I said, up here, we haven't had, I don't really see too much of a division or a problem, but we did go for quite a long span of not having. I think we had gotten to the point, like I was an officer and we didn't have any firefighters like under me being female, but Jasmine just got hired and she's been on for about 2 or 3 months. So.
And do you regularly have to do fitness assessments?
Oh, we do. So we have a yearly physical assessment that we have to do. If anybody wanted to look it up, it's called the Firefighter Mile. We've done a couple different ones throughout my career. We had a thing called a PBO, where we had to pull hose and chop through a piece of wood and throw a ladder. It's been, I think I've had 4 different tests, but we've used the Firefighter Mile the last 3 years. And we have to pass that once a year. Right now they have it, if you don't pass it, you have a certain length of time, like you can come back like in 2 weeks and try it again. And then after that, you get like assigned somebody to like help you to get you kind of physically fit where you need to be to pass it. And after a certain amount of time, you have to do what they call a task book. And it's just all these, you have to pull a line off of an engine and, get a cone knocked down with the water. You have to throw a ladder. You have to do like a RIT scenario where you have to go in and, pull a victim out. It's a whole task book of things you have to accomplish. So for whatever reason, you can't do that physical agility test, you could do the task book instead.
We, as volunteers, we actually don't have to pass a fitness test at all.
Yes.
Have to yet. You're exactly right. Exactly,
Yeah.
Matthew. Yet. They are looking at it. The interesting thing, and you have to just sign a waiver in regards to your medical. And if you come up with any medical issues, you do need to go and see a doctor. Our permanent staff have to do a fitness test to get in. I don't think they have to do it again afterwards. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows there. And then our forestry guys have to do a medical every 2 years and a fitness test every year, which is a pack hike test. So carrying.
Yeah. Our forestry have to, in order, like you can get, we call it a red card here. So you can go out and help with the forestry guys, and you have to do the red card. You have to do the pack test.
Our pack test is based on yours.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that they've tried to make fairly universal. So it's kind of the same, especially because with forestry, like you said, you had some Americans over there helping. Sometimes, like people from different countries come over here. So I think if they tried to make that pretty much the same, then you could easily travel and know that you have the same, requirements. The firefighting requirements in the states are different depending on the state. They've tried to make it like a universal test, but they haven't quite done that yet. So like some places it's called reciprocal. So maybe if you're like in North Carolina and you move to Tennessee, you don't have to retest, but anybody coming into Florida has to take the Florida test.
I don't know about FRV now, but I know that CFA's staff entry exam was a bit rigorous, the physical test. But once you're in, that was it.
They changed it about 3 years ago, so the MFB and the CFA did the same one. So it's it's quite rigorous too. Got dummy drags, ladder platform climbs. You got to pull in 15-litre can up about 2 flights of stairs. Got a stair climb chucked in there too. The dummy drag, you got to carry a few different bags, so many different things. Got to do a hose pull. I think it's a 60 mil hose. Drag that about 15 meters and show water from memory. Last time I did it. Yeah, it's quite tough, and a tunnel crawl too.
Yeah, but there's no need to maintain the physical once you're in. If anyone's ever met Station Officer Jamie Wilkie, he's a very, very well fit into his turnout gear now.
So I think it's one of those ones like because of the fact that we lose so many firefighters like on the cardiovascular side, and we all know people that are not in shape that could be in a little bit of shape. On the same aspect, I mean, we have some people that are like their battalions or they're higher up, so they have the education, the knowledge. So I mean, I knew, like, I had an officer, he was a little bit rounder, but he was very good with the technical aspect, so he could throw a ladder and do everything. He didn't have the cardio aspect, but he could do everything so quickly, he almost didn't need it. We have some people that sometimes get an injury. It's hard, I know, to come back like straight off of an injury and do a very vigorous test versus kind of like working your way into getting healing and healthier to get back to work. But I mean, it's definitely good to have something. So, I mean, it's accomplishable. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it just, some of it, I know, like for ours, we wear 80, here's the pounds to kilograms again, but it's an 80-pound vest. And we do like 3 minutes on a stair with the 80-pound vest before we do, the other components. So I know, like, someone that, say, has a knee injury, it's hard to come right back from a knee injury and to do that. But on the flip side, our officer will say, well, when you come back, you can get a structure fire where you have to pull out victims, or you have to climb stairs, or you have to get up on the roof. So you have to be ready to do it. So they like I said, I think we've had some sort of annual physical for about 7 years now. But not every department in Florida has an annual physical.
How much would all your gear weigh total, including your BA pack?
Oh, I want to say we weigh about, it's about between 50 to 65 extra pounds with our gear on, with our air pack. I think our air pack's about between 20 and 25 pounds. And we have, in the States, we have mostly Scott and MSA. And our department has an MSA. I'll grab my, this is, can you see it?
Yeah, it's almost, well, we've just switched over to MSA in the last year, so it's pretty much the exact same, really.
Yeah, that's what we keep, and it has like what they call a heads up display. So, like, you have the 4 little lights in the corner, so it starts green and then yellow, red as your air goes down. And what is nice, our new ones have the quick connect. So when you're changing your ear bottles, it's just instead of a threaded piece, it's just you just kind of turn it and pull it off, which is nice.
Some of our brigades have the heads up display, some don't. And are you all issued with your personal masks, are you?
Yes, we all have personal masks. We get fitted once a year.
And I note you wearing glasses. Have you got the insert for your glasses in there?
I do. I don't use them, but I do have them. You can get the inserts for glasses.
I'm actually wearing contacts, so I normally wear glasses. But I'm finding it a pain wearing a mask with glasses at the moment. So I've been
right. Yeah. No, they do. They do have the inserts, and I believe I don't know if it's in the States, but I know in Florida, it's like they have to. It's like a federal thing that if you have glasses on, they have to issue the inserts for your mask.
I believe they may be coming, but we're still waiting on new helmets that.
Right.
They're not.
Yeah, I think I saw some articles where they showed some of your all's new, because I know you guys have the shields that kind of like in France, they just kind of have that fire protection. They look kind of very modern.
They look like motorbike helmets, our new helmets.
Yeah.
But some have them. At the moment, we don't. They're still waiting to be sent to us and trained, but COVID's holding up a whole lot of things at the moment.
Right. I'll show you the type of helmets we have. Got to flip this around again. That's our helmets. That's the kind that we use currently.
So,
but they have talked about getting the other kind, and other places have the other kind.
So I have 3 helmets. Don't know. Oh,
To turn off your background.
I turn my background off. Hang on, I'll go into turning background off. So I have 3 helmets. For one for structural fires, one for bushfires, and
Yep, it's off.
Yeah, so here's my structural helmet.
Okay. Yeah.
I have
that's similar to what we have.
Torch on the side.
Yeah.
All Pacific brand. So, and then of course the visor, and then we have a lighter weight one for bushfires. Again, helmet. And then I'm rescue trained. So we have another one for rescue. So,
that's similar. That's similar to us. Yeah.
So I have 3 sets of, I have 3 different sets of bunker gear. Your structural gear, your wildfire gear, and rescue gear, which is a 1-piece overall set. So yeah, that's what we've got, but we're waiting on delivery of our new helmets.
Nice.
It'll be good. Any other questions for Victoria?
With your brush fires, wildfires out there, do you use aircraft much? And on your bad days, are they dispatched at the same time as the fire trucks with the initial call?
So we do. I think I was going to send. I'll do the link that we've been on, and I'll send you guys some pictures. But we have helicopters, and so they'll do the helicopter drops first. But then they also do have the large, like, airplane ones too. The airplane or forestry, they take a little bit to actually call and get. They don't come out automatically. They probably do, like in California, Wyoming, Colorado. In Florida, they're not automatic unless, like, several years ago when we had the really bad ones, then they had them posted at our local airport so they could just shoot off and go. But usually the first line is our sheriff's office actually goes and they look over the scene. And when we call forestry has they have a helicopter. Then they have these other things. They have like these little, it's like all these little balls, like kind of water and fireballs, and they drop it sometimes onto a scene, it's kind of interesting. But that would be forestry too. So all the water shuttles and tankers with the planes, that's all involving forestry. And if we have an ongoing fire that's fairly bad, then they're ready and they're kind of like engaged at the airport. If not generally, like if I'm en route to the call, if it sounds bad, I'll call forestry so that way they're coming, shortly behind us.
Cool. Well, if there's no other questions from guys,
what's your favorite call that you've been to?
Oh gosh, what's my favorite kind of call?
A loaded question.
Have you done babies?
Yeah, we have. That's not my favorite call though. Probably my favorite calls are probably like the room and content fires. So when we just get like, you get like the lightning strike, or you get somebody like they left a candle in their bedroom or their bathroom, and you get to go in and you bring your hose line in and you just knock it down. So those are probably my favorite because there's minimal damage. The people get to go back into their homes. I mean, obviously, like the most spectacular are the bad fires where the house is like 3/4 involved. There's a lot more work on those ones. It looks good because of all the fire, but you know, the flip side of that is the homeowners don't have a home left. And so even though we think it's great because we put it out, it just doesn't leave much for the people to go back. You know, they have a lot of sentimental things that are lost. Probably some of my favorite calls are when we've saved animals. We've gotten like dogs stuck underneath the house or in a pipe or like that type of thing. Those are always kind of fun ones. And then probably when we have people from accidents that haven't seemed like that they've done very well, and you happen to run into them like at the grocery store, at our local Publix, or they come by the station and, you know, they say like, oh, you were in this call with me, and they're walking, that, you know, you saved their life. Those are probably the better calls. I'd say the most memorable call I had, our unit just went into it was a vitamin shop that was closing. And there was a young man there who was 18, and I'd never go in there, but they were like selling, they were closing the store, and my coworker wanted to go in, and they left, and I was still in there, and the boy looked kind of peaked, and I was like, are you okay? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, sit down, and I checked his pulse, and it was okay. I said, well, give me a minute, I'll go and get our equipment out from the engine. And when we went in there and hooked him up, he went into arrest. He went into VFib, into cardiac arrest. And we got him back. So he and his family came to my station afterwards and thanked us. But it was just one of those coincidental, like we just happened to be in there. We didn't get called to it. We just were there at the right time. So, I mean, I would say that was a good outcome of a memorable call. I think our crews, we like brush fires because they're fun. I mean, they're not burning a house down, but, you know, so we have a thing, you guys would like it. I think the one gentleman that's asked a couple of brush questions. We have a grass, and it's called a Kogan grass. Have you heard of that? So it was a Kogan grass, and they brought it in because they thought the cattle would eat it. But the cattle don't eat it. It's like a sawgrass, so it's kind of sharp. So the cows don't eat it, so it just grows. But it has a very high like oil content. So, and then it also, when it freezes and it's like very brittle, but it's like has an oil. So when that catches on fire, it has a very high flame front. So when that's on fire, it may be 15, 20, 30 feet up in the air, and it travels very fast, like it catches itself. So it can extend very quickly. So Kogan grass fires they're a lot of fun because they're hot and they're fast. We don't have it everywhere. Like that's not our normal grass, but some places where people planted it for their cattle, it's hard to kill because if you burn it, it actually likes getting burnt. So it grows more. So they have to use like chemicals, or you have to dig it up to get rid of it.
Yeah. For me, I think the best one is when we have a good outcome and we've worked well as a team. I always find when you work well as a team to provide a good outcome, your energy and your adrenaline is so much higher to know that as a team you've worked well together. Yeah,
when things go smooth, that's always good.
Exactly.
That's why you train. Yeah, that's why you train.
Exactly right. Excellent. If there's no more questions, any more questions, guys? I don't think so. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. I think we've all learnt a lot. And it's been very interesting listening to you and hearing some of the differences. And I think some of us have some, there was a couple of comments in here about we all liked the single strand of rope that you had with the carabiner on. That's one that we've gone, that would be handy to carry. And just some of the bits and pieces that you do carry. I do know quite often some of the guys that only need reading glasses carry pairs of reading glasses in their gear. Mm-hmm. So that when they have to do some paperwork or read something,
right, then they
in their gear. So, yeah. So thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
We much appreciate it, and you're part of the Next Gen page now. So if you're ever up early, you're welcome. We're on every Wednesday night or Wednesday morning, so you're welcome to jump on any of our sessions that you see, or there'll be links to the recorded sessions. So if you're
Okay.
want to watch them at all, feel welcome to.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Be safe.
Thanks
Cheers.
very much.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And while guys are still here, I've got to tee up someone for next week. But if anyone's seen the page, we've actually had sponsorship and we're getting some guest speakers on. So don't know if anyone's heard of Craig Harper. Craig Harper is a motivational speaker. He's, I know he put up a, Matthew, do you know him by the look in your face?
I don't know. No, I've seen the ad. I've seen the
Yeah,
ad.
seen the ad. So
Yeah,
he,
impressive ad.
yeah, he's a motivational speaker that I know he's been putting up. I've only just started following him after some of the guys mentioned him, that we might get him on, and he's been putting up some free motivational sessions. Normally pays a lot, but during COVID, he's put up some free sessions, and they'd booked out 100 people in 5 minutes. So we're very lucky enough to get him in a couple of weeks. I've got 2 weeks I haven't got scheduled at the moment, so I'll schedule them in the next couple of days. Then we've got a Canadian talking about PSTD and welfare dogs. And we also have Kevin Parkin from the Bureau booked in. And I've also, whoever was asking about Rick Owen, he said he'll do a session for us too. So I've got Rick Owen.
Good.
Yeah, I've got Rick Owen sorted. I've just got to give him an email. So yeah, we do have some good guys lined up. So thank you once again, and we'll catch you same time, same place next week. Oh, the other thing you may have noticed is we are switching the page to a private group. So non-members can't actually see what's on the page. They can see the page exists, but not what's on the Facebook page. That was just some advice we got from Melbourne that we should be doing it that way. So yeah, have a good week, stay safe, and we'll see you all next week.
All right, thank you.